Welcome to Unveiling the Truth.
We're your host, Nefra Nelly, and today we're on scene at the youth event here with a special guest, Virginia Gonzalez. Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies, for having me here today. This is so exciting. So just a little bit about me. My name's Virginia Gonzalez. I'm a stand-up comedian, public speaker. I've been doing this for 22 years. I've won a lot of awards. But the one I'm most proud of is in 2020, I actually won the funniest comedian in New Mexico.
Oh, good job.
Yeah. God has a sense of humor because then he shut the country down right after. But I've been doing this for quite a while, and I had the honor and privilege today to get to talk to the youth that came to this event. It's been pretty exciting, especially to meet the two of you. I love what you're doing for the pro-life movement.
You too. Thank you so much for coming. And so you live in Albuquerque now, but you didn't live there before, right? So
No.
you were kind of like a small town girl, weren't you?
Correct. I was born and raised in a small town called Leadville, Colorado. 10,000 elevation. I think at the time that I lived there was maybe 3,000 people that lived in that community. So very small community.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's totally different from me. Like, I'm from a big city, so
Wow.
I can't even imagine. So, you had a story that you shared with us. If you would like to, share a little bit about your testimony or, with our audience.
I'd be happy to. I actually was 15 years old when I had my son. I got pregnant at a very young age, and then I turned 16, and he was born soon after in September of 1979. And then as I grew up, and actually we grew up together, to be honest with you, I actually got pregnant again when I was 25. And at that time, that was in the middle 1980s, 1985. So it was a little progressive at the time, but still certainly not like the culture that we live now. So I was in a predicament. I was in school, I was working, and most of the people around me at that time were telling me I couldn't, I shouldn't, I wouldn't.
Because that's what a lot of people like to do, is play like you as the victim, like you can't make it on your own,
Correct. So I listened to those voices. I had no other voices telling me anything else, and I went ahead and had an abortion. So I technically would have a child about 35, 36 right now. I have 2 children. Both of them have since died. Tragedy. Thank you. My son died in 2020. He was 40 years old.
Oh, wow. I'm so sorry.
He fell from a cliff and died. COVID altered his life, and so they were going to go to a concert, him and his buddies, married men, good fathers, hard workers, and as you know, everything got shut down, and this was in Colorado, so they, instead of going to the concert, they ended up going to Canyon City. So the name of the city is Canyon for a reason, and they were camping, and there was fires going on in Arizona and Colorado, and during that time they couldn't see starlight, and what we think is he got up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom and lost his way and fell 90 feet to his death. Left behind 4 children and a wife of 20 years. So now I am the mother of 2 children who I've lost. And what I can say to you is I can tell you everything about Kenny. He was amazing, 6'5", smart, good dad. He was just spectacular and a magnificent, strong human being, physically and mentally.
Well, it doesn't surprise me being your son. You're so insanely smart. You're amazing.
Oh.
You're good at inspiration to women everywhere. So.
Thank you.
Seriously, it's so refreshing to see, especially the time era that you grew up in, because like you said, it was progressive, and that's where everything shifted.
It was, and but now I find myself. I do cry, believe me. There's not a day that goes by that I don't shed tears. And then even for my unborn child, because mind you, I look around and, there's parts of my heart that say, especially recently, God has been putting young men in my life that are around 35, 36 years old. So I often wonder, what would my unborn child been like? And I, for years, carried that around as a secret. My husband and I have been married 30 years, but he didn't even know I had an abortion until we were married 15 years. I had it a secret. And it's a secret the enemy likes to take out. And he likes to dangle it in front of you and tell you, look at you church lady, really? And best thing that ever happened to me is another woman spoke up at church about her abortive experience. And I thought, how bold for her to speak out. And I felt convicted because I was on staff at a church. And I thought, uh-oh. And then God said, you're a leader. You need to support her. So we started a post-abortive ministry at my church. And through that, God is healing me. God has helped me. And with the same comfort that I've been comforted with, I can comfort others. So it doesn't make the sin right, but I'm forgiven. I'm restored. And now I'm empowered to share truth with other women. And that's my heart for the ministry. That's my heart for helping young ladies like you understand that you can be the hero of your own story. Now, we'll make mistakes. I'm not going to say we don't. And if you find yourself in that predicament, understand and know that we're the only creatures that God created to carry the image bearers of Christ. Isn't that spectacular? It is. But our world is so centered around me, myself, and I. I know. That's why I walked into a clinic and did what I did. But I can tell you, I walked out of that clinic and I was never the same. I know what death feels like in my womb. I do. And it destroys you, your soul. That is not health care. It isn't. It is denial of the very thing that God made us for. And so I speak boldly, not only because of that, but I also get to be on staff at CareNet Pregnancy Center of Albuquerque. So every day I get to work in the fight for life. I get to serve young ladies that come to our centers every day who are either abortion vulnerable, abortion minded, and even abortion determined. And we get to share truth.
Whoa, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Especially since you relate to them.
Right.
I was gonna say that you kind of since you've gone through it. So, and there are a bunch of women out there who feel like there's no way out. So you're like a shining star for those. Even though you tragically lost your kids, you're going to be the voice for all the mothers out there who still have that chance and still have that opportunity. Right. And a lot of times they do feel like there's no way out. And a lot of times the Planned Parenthood industry likes to, like you said, make them play the victim card. Like, you can't do this on your own. You're not strong enough. Yeah. Right. But like you said, God created us to be able to have kids. That means he made us mentally and physically capable to carry through with it. Yeah. So I think that's wonderful that you're giving that image and sight to youth out there, specifically. And you're here talking to the youth at this pro-life youth event, and how does that feel to you that you were once somewhere that you said that the devil was dangling the carrot in front of you, and now you're out speaking boldly to the youth and helping them? So how do you think you got there?
My faith in Jesus Christ, really, ultimately, and then being empowered by others, encouraged by other sisters in Christ to be bold, to speak truth. And I think that every one of us, and we know this to be true because God created us, right? He has plans for us, and he doesn't waste anything. Even in our mistakes, we learn, right? We grow. We don't grow like a guy that goes and builds bodybuilds, right? He doesn't bodybuild by eating chips and sitting on the sofa all day. He might have one bicep that's really strong from eating chips all day, but he builds muscle by resistance, right? Weight. So when we encounter resistance in our life, when we encounter trials, that's how we grow and we learn. Exactly. So it's not to say that we won't have those, because he tells us in his word, count it all joy when you fall into various trials. For the testing of your faith produces patience, so that we can be more like him. But I find it so encouraging and empowering to share truth with women. Now, mind you, as a pregnancy center, CareNet, what I do for a living by the hand of God to my table, we don't strong arm anyone. I don't go up to women and yell at them and tell them, choose life or you're going to regret it. And I don't guilt them. Our heart as women of God is to, and God is like this too, because we know he's a gentleman, right? He doesn't kick down the door of our heart. He knocks.
Well, even with Mary's unplanned pregnancy, he asked her to carry his child. He didn't force it upon her.
Oh, wow. That's a great point. I hadn't even thought of that. But that's our heart. And so when everything's said and done, We'll even often ask her, with permission, can we share information about abortion with you? And the heart of it is, do you know what kind of abortion if you were to have one today? And most women don't know. There's several different procedures, and because we can have abortion up to birth here in New Mexico, the heart is, yes, we want to save the baby. Of course. She's the gatekeeper. She is already a mother. The heart is to help her understand her choice is hers. It's not going to be easy no matter what you do. If you raise that child and potentially raise it alone without the father, it's going to be hard. For sure, right? There's reward, though. There's beauty, and it is a lifelong commitment. If you choose to abort that child, that's hard too.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Post-traumatic abortive disorder.
Absolutely. And you have to live with that decision. But when everything is said and done, that's a lifelong decision as well too. So the choice is hers, just like the choice is ours when we're offered the opportunity to receive Christ or reject him. He's a gentleman. So as pro-life people, our heart is to share truth and let God be God and help them through that. Now, when they do make the choice for an abortion, then we're the same beautiful, loving hands of Jesus that help them to see there is restoration, there is forgiveness, and there is an opportunity to be forgiven and set free. It is not a lifelong death sentence to have gone through an abortion. But my prayer is exactly what you two are doing. You're stepping boldly into a territory right now in this culture that is not embracing life. Right. It's all about live your truth. Well, we know, is there many ways to get to Walmart? Sure, right? Right. There's only one way to get to Jesus. He is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through him. Right. So this lie of your truth, this lie of my body, my choice, right. If it was your body, you wouldn't have two hearts, exactly. Right? You wouldn't have 20 toes, 20 fingers, right? There's a whole nother body inside of you. And that child that is living inside doesn't have a choice, and they're innocent of all innocence. And all I can say is what I know to be true. John 10:10. You heard me say it. Do life big, right? Mm-hmm. The enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And he's a coward. Oh, yeah. Who's he going to go after? The most weak and innocent. Yeah. Babies, right? Yeah. But I have come. That's what he says in John 10:10. I is Jesus, have come that they may have life and life more abundantly. So when you say, I want to live my life, my truth, well, you can choose to go your own way. But why would you choose? Let's see, what would be the best analogy I can see? Cat turds. There you go. Because they stink, right? We don't want to touch them, even if they're in a clump of litter. But why would you choose your way over abundant life? Why? Even in the trials of things. I told you I lost my son. But I can sit here and I make people laugh. I can share my hope. I can share God's truth. Do you know what God told me when my son died? He shared so many scriptures with me, but he gave me one truth that just turned it all around for me when I was asking him why. I was crying. I said, why? Why my son, my only son? And he answered me in Deuteronomy 29:29. It says the secret things are of God. He said. Then he followed it up by saying, but the things of the law, the book of the law, the Bible, are our responsibility and our children's responsibility. So when he said that to me, I was like, oh my goodness, I need to remember God's promises. Yes, tragedy happened. God knows why those things happen. And he may tell me one day, and he may not. But I have to be okay with that, because doesn't he tell us to trust in the Lord with all of our heart, right? Not to lean on our own understanding. And then he followed it all up with John 3:16. Even the world knows that scripture, right?
Everyone knows that.
I lost my son. God gave his only begotten son
Oh my gosh, so you like especially relate with him that way.
Right. And so then think about it. He knows my grief. He had to turn his back on his son for me. I didn't even give my son for him, for you.
It's so selfless of you. You're so amazing.
God is amazing. And so I want to encourage you. I continue doing what you're doing. And those of you that are watching, you need to share this with other young ladies. You do. I am going to go back to CareNet and I'm going to share this with everybody and on my Facebook page and on my Instagram. The reason why I want to share this with everybody is because you're the future. The people that are watching this are the future. Now, I'm in the fourth quarter of my life. At 59 years, I don't know how much time I have left. Who knows? To live is Christ, to die is gain. I'm good either way. But the bottom line is, I've had a good life. I've enjoyed this country. I've been free to grow up and become the woman that I am. I have pursued every dream in my life, and anything I've set my mind to, I have been able to do. In fact, I used to always say the fear of not succeeding should not stop you from trying. But we know in God's economy, it's I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. What you are doing, I know one day you will have jewels on your crown that you will be able to lay at the feet of Jesus. And I pray for the women and the young men that are watching this, that you would understand and know that God is real. He is. Look at the sky. Look in the mirror. Jiminy, look how beautiful you are. And each so individually and fearfully and wonderfully made. So be bold. You will come against darkness. You will come against opposition. But know that you are on the side of victory. You're not fighting for victory. We are victorious. And I'm going to finish with one little analogy I shared last night at the banquet. As we fight, it will seem daunting. It does. Women walk into the late-term abortion clinic in Albuquerque every day, anywhere from weeks to 9 months to terminate a pregnancy. And it is heart-wrenching. Sometimes it just feels like a gut punch. But what I can say to you is there's a story, you may have heard it, of a little boy on the beach, and the water washes up all these starfish, and he's frantically running on the beach, and he's throwing them back in the ocean just as quickly as one little boy can. And a man comes along and he says, "Oh, little boy," he goes, "you're wasting your time." And the little boy says, "What do you mean?" He says, "You're not going to save all of them." And the little boy paused and he looked at the man and he said, "I may not save all of them, but one. The one." And that's what we every day and what you are doing on this podcast and sharing truth as young women of God, and just from the resources of the Holy Spirit that He's giving you to do what you're doing here, even if just one life is spared because of what you have done. God bless you, ladies, for what you do. I love you so much, and I'm going to give you back the mic.
So everybody, please check her out. She's a wonderful lady, Virginia Garcia. Please support what she does because she's successful, she's famous, she's made it, and yet she still has the heart of what, like, where it needs to be. She still has the truth, and she still clings on to that. Because sometimes famous people kind of like tend to like make their own God.
Famous, I can tell you.
Oh
that
yeah, sure.
But I can tell you that if you want to find me or find out where I'm at, you can get on my website, which is like Virginia, Gonzales.net. And I usually have my schedule on there. There's a small snippet of me doing some stuff on there. I'll be updating it and those kinds of things. But I'm not famous. Jesus is famous. All I am, I'm obedient.
You see what I mean? She's so humble. She's like a famous person with like a down-to-earth heart, and she's super down-to-earth, just a wonderful lady. And we thank you so much for doing this for us. You're like, seriously, you're gonna bring me to tears. You're an amazing woman. Like, for all ages, such an inspiration.
Well,
thank you so much.
I feel the same about you. I want to grow up and be you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please support her. We're praying for you and keep that fire burning. Bye.
Bye.